Welcome everybody to another episode of Lockdown 23 in 1. That's right, today ladies and gentlemen, I got another grip of lockup and crime related stories coming your way. Some of these stories, of course, are about inmates, and it blows my mind what some of these guys are doing in their cells. For instance, inmates hacking their state-issued tablets and stealing $1 million from Securus. We're gonna get into the details here in a second, man. You ain't gonna believe what they spent the money on. Not to mention a public service announcement from South Dakota about a particular individual by the name of Yellow Boy. What could this guy have done to have about 13 to 20 different websites alerting the public that he's been released from prison? Not once, but twice. I'll break it down when we get there. So let's get into it. If you enjoy this type of content, all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Alright, the first article begins saying almost nobody outside of the Kentucky Department of Corrections, almost nobody except for us, has heard about how inmates have hacked their state-issued tablets to create more than $1 million that didn't even exist. How can this possibly have been done? The dollars were used for the purchase of expensive email and video visits with their loved ones, as well as games, music, and movies. I mean, that's all the top-notch things you can buy on those tablets. By the time the state officials learned what was happening from an anonymous tip on January 3rd, 2023, the prisoners had already spent nearly 88 grand on digital media products, according to a review of more than 1,700 pages of internal investigation records. For the next 6 months, the Department of Corrections and Securus Technologies, the Texas company behind the tablets, struggled to figure out who bought what with the stolen money and how it might be recovered. I want to know who gave up that anonymous tip. If I were to guess, it was an inmate that wasn't getting no kind of free nothing. They left him out the circle. He decided to break the circle. Yeah, man, that's how it goes in prison. Jealousy or just pure hate. They'll kill you or snitch on you, one or the other. But this wasn't the first time the inmates outfoxed Securus. Beating old Securus up left and right on them tablets, huh? Keep charging them outrageous prices for Happy Feet movie. In 2018, several hundred Idaho prisoners did much the same thing, hacking tablets provided by JPay, a related company, to transfer roughly $225,000 into their digital media accounts that didn't really exist. Inmates are now facing liens. They don't care, man. They're in a cell. Facing 20 to 30, man. You think they care about a lien? Maybe some of them. Those short timers are the ones that are really going to pay here, because they're going right back to the streets with a fresh lien jank. Every paycheck they get's going straight to that Securus company. I don't know exactly how liens work, to be honest, but if I were to guess, that's how. It says the Department of Corrections has placed liens on inmates' prison commissary accounts, where loved ones deposit money that inmates use to purchase snacks, toiletries, and other tangible items. And these funds will be deducted for the accounts to gradually clear the tablet-related debts. Those guys will never pay for commissary through their name ever again. They're going to make sure their family sends all the money to his bunkie. Now, how did this hack work? On December 9th, 2022, the Department of Corrections loaded a new app on inmates' tablets. The app allowed inmates to transfer money from their commissary accounts into their Securus accounts where they can buy digital products. Within 24 hours of this app being released on their tablet, an inmate found a way to outsmart old Securus. LaDaniel Brown, a 30-year-old Bowling Green man, had a commissary account balance of just $0. At the Luther Luckett Correctional Complex in Oldham County, where he was serving a whopping 30-year sentence for child sexual abuse. How's this guy even in there thriving and hacking at the same time? Trying to tell you, man, some states is built a bit different. Maybe they had no idea about his paperwork, but they do now. But the lack of funds didn't discourage Brown. Playing around with the new app, Brown later told investigators he discovered that if he put a minus sign in front of a dollar figure as he transferred the money from his commissary account, he would actually add that much money to his commissary account and his Securus account. So just imagine having $0, messing around with this brand new app, you add -500. Something happens and all of a sudden you find out you got $500 in each account. Commissary and digital media. You got food, movies, music, everything you need now. I mean, what would you have done if you're in the cell and that just happened? You'd be like, man, shit, this ain't no hack. This is just their mistake. They're at fault. That's probably what I'd say when I type in -1 million. You would say to yourself, there ain't no way that would happen. Next thing you know, boom, million, both accounts, man. You know you're about to get indicted. Game over, man. I probably would have snitched on myself. Look, officer, man, I was just messing around, put a little minus sign here. Somehow I got $1 million in my account. I don't want to spend it. I just want to see if it worked. It worked. That's how paranoid I would have been. Now, if I had like 30 years, hell no, I'm blowing through that. Every last dime of it. But just within a few weeks, it seems as though word is spread about the Secures hack. Because 366 inmates collectively added 529,000 both to their commissary accounts and their Secures accounts for a total of more than 1 million. Oh my goodness gracious, the whole prison was rich. Also, I bet during those weeks or whatever, it was probably the safest it's ever been. No fights, arguments, nothing. Everybody fat, full, happy. They don't even care about their old lady no more, man. They got so much food. Oh, but yeah, they all ended up getting indicted and leaned on. That's what happens when you play with those Secures. And DOC, they get theirs. But at least they had a good time for a little while, huh? That brings a smile to my face, that's for sure. But since we're talking about hacking and we're in Kentucky, let's speak about one more situation. This is about a free man from Somerset, Kentucky. Well, he's not free no more because he was recently sentenced to prison after hacking the state registry system. Why would he do that? To fake his own death in order to avoid paying child support, man. God, they must have smoked his boots in there, man. Probably like $5 grand a month. He only makes $1,200. He's like, hell nah, I'm dying this week. On paper, at least. In January 2023, when Kipf owed his California ex over 6 figures, federal prosecutors said that he obtained credentials of a doctor, logged into the Hawaii death registry system, and created a fake file of his own premature end. He then filled out a death certificate while posing as the doctor and submitted it, which made him appear dead across several government databases. Guys getting smart these days playing possum. But let's jump out of the hacking scene and travel on down to South Dakota. That's right, we got an individual by the name of Yellow Boy who was just released from prison. But in order to get a better view, let's jump into an article from 2018. It says South Dakota's Department of Corrections believes an inmate who has been released is still a danger to the public. Inmate Corey Yellowboy, 28 years old, is nearing the end of his 3-year sentence for escaping from Pennington County. But that isn't why the state sent out an alarming notice. Based on his extensive history of sexual offenses, as well as institutional assessments that indicate a high risk for committing future sexual offenses. I am alerting law enforcement and the public of the offender's pending release from prison, said the corrections secretary. Yellowboy has indicated he plans to live in Rapid City upon his release Tuesday, December 11th. He will not be under supervision because the DOC doesn't have jurisdiction over people who complete their sentence inside prison. Now moving on to June 18th, 2019. Just a few months after his release. Seems like old Yellowboy got caught up in the mix again, just like DOC warned about. Corey Yellowboy, 29 now, was arrested and charged with possession of a controlled substance, failing to update his address as a sex offender, and fleeing police. Now let's travel all the way to 2024. Seems like he's about to be released from prison for those crimes. It says, according to the South Dakota Department of Corrections, Corey Yellowboy, 34 now, was released from prison August 15th. Yellowboy served his sentence for evading a police officer, failing to update his address as a sex offender, and possessing a controlled substance. As he served his full sentence, he is not under parole supervision once again. They hate it when he gets out with no papers. And this is all it ever says to end every article on this individual, which I said already. Many articles alerting the public on his release. Just Google his name and you'll see them all, but they all end the same way. Based on his criminal history and institutional assessments that indicate a high risk to reoffend, I am alerting law enforcement and public of this offender's release from prison, said Secretary of Corrections Kelly Wasco. Man, oh man, Yellowboy might as well move from South Dakota because he's a marked man over there. Now last but not least, traveling down to Reno, Nevada, or Nevada, however you like to call it. It says, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Joseph Quinanos, 31 years old, entered a fast food chain on November of last year and was upset that he could not order any lunch items during breakfast and pulled out a gun and started threatening employees. Police said when they first arrived on the scene, Quinanos did not listen to him, but ended up taking him into custody eventually. Quinanos has a prior felony conviction and was prohibited from having a gun. And 12 more years of his life will be gone in prison just because he got mad they weren't serving lunch items. Stories like this make me say to myself, he either has mental problems or he was on cloud 15, because any convicted criminal with common sense knows better than to pull a gun out with cameras all around him in broad daylight in a fast food joint. Like I said, he was on cloud 15 or has some loose marbles. But that's a wrap for today's rundown of lockup and crime related stories. I do have quite a bit more. We'll save that for another day. In the meantime though, if you're new and enjoyed, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave. And as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, stay free.